I think everybody's opinion on what Auburn should do the next 2 weeks is fine, but I don't think we're looking at it the right way.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zac Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. It's a Charlie Tuesday. To all who celebrate, we are joined by Auburn message board legend, the Charlie 5. You can find him over at the barn, auburn.com. We'll predict who wins between Auburn and Texas A&M Tuesday night, as well as who's going to step up and our picks for, guys to watch and all of that. But there's been a lot of chatter, Kyle, ever since Auburn locked things down on Saturday with them, absolutely whooping Kentucky and then Alabama losing to Tennessee. I think everybody's opinion on this makes sense logically as far as, okay, well, let's just rest guys, or, we don't need to focus on the SEC tournament. Let's just rest and get folks ready and healthy for the NCAA tournament. And the logic there is the NCAA tournament is the most important thing left in front of you. And I agree. But I don't think this team thinks like we do. I don't think Bruce Pearl sees this collective of talent in his locker room and say, yes, let's just skate by and get to the turn. This team wants to win everything, even if it doesn't matter as far as, record or seeding or anything like that. They want to win. And I just think that's what has made them so good. And for us to say, hey, let's just rest guys if you can, or don't prioritize the SEC tournament, I think it just goes against what got Auburn to this point.
The chemistry, everybody pulling in the same direction, everybody accepting their roles. I'm with you, man. I think they're on a mission. We're not going to let what happened last year happen again. And we're not talking about just the first game of the NCAA tournament. It's everything that leads up to that. Like, we're not going to risk anything. We're not going to risk it. We're going to make sure we're the number one overall seed. We're going to leave no doubt, and go in and dominate every single game. Try to win them all. I think some people put too much value on this, rest thing where it's like you may overexert yourself in the SEC tournament and get ready for the NCAA tournament. But there's still like a week. You still got a week to close to a week to rest. I just don't think I'm with you. I don't think this team thinks that way.
I don't either. They want to win every time they're out there. And we talked about a lot when it was happening, and it seems like a season ago at this point, but it wasn't. Like when Johni Broome rushed himself back to play against Purdue. He didn't need to play against Purdue. That game didn't mean anything. And at that point, we thought Auburn was going to lose 4 or 5 games this season. And it's like, okay, it's fine if you drop, 2 non-conference games. And I think they would have beaten him without him in hindsight, but still just him saying, no, it's an opportunity to win. I'm going to go out there and do it. Now, let me be clear. If there's somebody who's banged up and actually needs the rest to recover, you should 100% do it. There's some chatter about that with Denver Jones as we record this. There's questions on if he may play Tuesday night. He missed a big chunk of time against Kentucky this weekend. That makes sense.
I would imagine he doesn't play, but I don't think that changes anything that we're talking about. I think that's the smart thing to do.
Right.
But I don't think it means that Denver is wanting to rest, not wanting to win the game. I think if he was 100%, he'd go out there and do exactly what we're talking about and look to try to dominate Texas A&M.
Yeah, it's such an interesting dynamic because on the other side of this, like you're going to, I think Texas A&M is good. They've lost 4 straight, but this is a top 10 team like 2 weeks ago. Their fall has been dramatic and sudden and drastic, and that's not really who they are. And these losses have been against good teams. Some people may have different opinions on Mississippi State and Vandy, but I've lost to Tennessee and then Florida, I guess, is the most recent one, I believe. So they've still lost 4 straight, and they've been against solid teams. But the other side of this is like Auburn, like, it doesn't mean anything for Auburn at face value until you kind of look and see, like, okay, it probably still does mean something to this team because it's competition, and that's who these guys are.
And I think Texas A&M's kind of got the better of Auburn it feels like over recent memory. I know I can remember
win, it's sloppy. It seems like
I can remember them, posing home sweet home, winning at Neville Arena. I feel like they've had success there. So I'm with you. I just think we're going to go over. They're wanting to win. They're not wanting to. The season's not over for them. Hey, we still got to win these last 2 games. They're not phoning anything in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's going to be important. It is new, though. This is new territory. You've got 2 games against 2 really good teams, or 1 solid team and 1 really good team left, and they don't matter from the Auburn point of view. So it will be interesting to see how Bruce Pearl handles it. I don't think Bruce Pearl is going to handle it any different. I think it's going to be a similar rotation in the sense of what it would look like if, assuming Denver doesn't play, if Denver wasn't playing and this game mattered. Because they also still, I think, can convince themselves that, like, you haven't done enough for the number 1 overall seed. Like, I think that could be your message if you're Bruce Pearl to this team, to say, like, you need one more. You need one more. And then, for Alabama, it's like, what do you need to say? You got a chance to sweep your rival. So I still think, like, there are things to technically play for, even though, like, I think Auburn's got the number 1 seed wrapped up already. Some people may disagree. This is where I'm at with it. But internally, that might be the rallying call, if you even need one. They may not even need motivation.
I don't know. You took the words out of my mouth. I'm not even sure that you necessarily need motivation with this team. It seems like anytime they can get a primetime game on the road, whatever, a chance to play the villain. They seem to have embraced sort of this villain role, which I dig. They're gonna go out there and play. It's kind of weird when you have all the excuses. When you have all the excuses to take a game off. You mentioned Johni coming back early for the Purdue game. I mean, what about Tennessee? I mean, we were talking about, can we just go 500 over like a 4-game span until he gets back? No, right. He jumps right back in, and it was an ugly win, but you don't win. You don't beat Tennessee without him. Just the makeup of this team. I've been trying to diagnose what exactly makes this team tick, because I'd love to replicate it every year, but I don't know that it's anything other than just a special group of guys. Special group of guys.
There's a lot of good players.
Yeah.
But I mean, you look and see where they all came from, and like Chad Baker-Mazara wasn't like this heavily pursued guy in the portal. Cheney the same way. Miles was kind of late to the party. I mean, the guy that was heavily pursued isn't playing. JJ Pegues. And it's so interesting to look back at like how all these guys got to Auburn. And I mean, none of them were like the can't miss guys in the portal. They were all like, okay, like I could see how this could work out. And they've just all hit. It's crazy.
Or I would say a lot of them are not. I could see how this could work out. I can't believe Bruce missed on another one, and this is our fallback plan, kind of thing. And then they end up being,
like in real time. It's what it felt like.
Sure, yeah. And then they end up being not only really good, but basically some of the best players on the team and fan favorites. I mean, think about it. Denver was a top player in the portal.
Sure,
Johni was a top player in the portal when you got him. Mm-hmm. But outside of that,
other people wanted Miles, but
yeah.
We were like, "Where's Miles going to play?"
Yeah, exactly. We're really
to think about.
Yeah, we were really looking for another true point guard that could play the 2, and you got a 2 that could play the 3, and he's been phenomenal.
He's been great. They've all been great. And then Cheney has just turned into this beast of a man. It's just
he's so physically impressive.
It's crazy.
He looks like an NBA player.
He does. He certainly does. Okay, who steps up? Who are the guys to watch tonight as the Tigers take on the Aggies? We tell you in just a second, right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at Supply House.
Ooh.
List some of your favorite types of houses. Supply House is number 1. Agreed? Yes.
100%.
Yes. Get the supplies you need from the site made For the skilled trades, Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is a reliable way to order products online.
Chock full of supplies.
It's literally in the name for a reason. It's literally in the name for
So many
that
supplies.
reason. They've got an easy-to-use website, and it's packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. They've got over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands, Kyle, over at supplyhouse.com. And if you need help or have questions, you actually talk with real people through their website, not robots or AI. It's people at Supply House.
Humans.
Because people live in houses and people live in the Supply House. Join the Trade Master. Yep. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM. And start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Power rank those real quick. Plumbing, HVAC, electrical. Go.
I'll go in that order.
Okay. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's at supplyhouse.com. Thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. The Tigers take on the Aggies in College Station. 8 p.m. tip tonight, and say it with me all together. It's the last time we have an 8 o'clock tip this regular season. Thank you. We made it.
Those are brutal, man.
We made it, but they're better when you're SEC champs. And so that'll be certainly fun to watch throughout the broadcast from College Station. I said this on my bonus show that dropped yesterday afternoon, Kyle, but Tahad Pettiford to me is the guy to watch here for multiple reasons. One, he seems to do better away from Auburn for whatever reason. And then the other is, he should get more minutes like we saw against Kentucky. If Denver does play, which I don't think he's going to, but if he does, you got to think it's going to be limited. So I think you're going to see more minutes for Tahad. And I think we see lots of points from Tahad Pettiford for those two reasons.
I think that's a good one. Mine's Miles Kelly, because I think Miles Kelly could probably play a little.
Miles just made another three on Kentucky.
Oh, wow. From the parking lot. Wow. Did it go straight in or did he bank it?
Straight in. Straight in.
Okay.
Yep.
He can do either. He can do either from either side of the court.
Bank's always open. Yep.
I think that he's probably going to he may have to play some minutes at backup point guard. Todd's going to play a bunch, but I don't know that he can play 40 minutes. And I don't know if you're going to bring JP.
I don't think you want him to.
Yeah, I don't know if you can bring JP off the bench. I think you could easily just slide Miles over for a few possessions, give Tahad a blow, and I think you're going to need him. I think you're going to need, if you're going to take away Denver's production, who's going to be that shooter? It's going to be Miles. It's going to be Miles. You're going to let Chad do his thing, but the Miles and Tahad show is going to be a lot of fun, I think.
The dynamic of Johni Broome and this team wanting him to win National Player of the Year. I'm fascinated to see, one, if that's real. I assume it is. I can't imagine how it isn't, especially with Bruce being such a player's first guy. And it will help you so much if your last two guys are Kessler and Broome. And it's like, hey, if you're a center in the portal and Bruce Pearl calls you, like, why look anywhere else? But I wonder how that plays into the game plan and how that plays into, maybe it makes life easier since Auburn's short in the guard situation. I don't know. I'm curious to see how many touches Johni gets. Will it be more than normal?
Do you feel like that it's forced with him at all? It's like that offense,
no,
man.
I don't.
It doesn't feel like they just
Georgia, maybe, but like he scored 31 or whatever. So it's like it was forced, but it worked. So like force sounds bad, I guess.
I guess they don't go. I don't think they go in there. I don't think they go in there with a pitch count, thinking he's got to have X amount of shots, and like it changes the way that you call plays. I don't think it's that type scenario. I think the offense is kind of built around him, and everything just kind of works. It's crazy. You just look up, and his production's there, but you don't feel like they're getting it down. They're getting it down the court, and then they're feeding it into him inside. He's moving all over the place. It's really like the most perfect offense with the guys that are out there all put together. It just works.
Yeah. A&M is a good offensive rebounding team.
We've struggled on the boards a little bit the last couple of games. It feels
like. I mean, I guess if this team has a weakness, that's probably it. So curious to see how that works did the crossover with Andrew Stefaniak that dropped yesterday afternoon. He's the host of Locked On Aggies. He mentioned that. He's like, A&M's a really good offensive rebounding team, but it could be just because they missed so many jump shots. So we actually don't know if they're really like good or not. I'm like, yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
Do they? I haven't looked too deeply into their stats, but it seems like to me that they like to play physical. They like to, and then they, if Wade Taylor can get hot, they can score. I mean, they've scored 80 points, over 80 points several times this year, but they're typically like they seem like they like to muddy it up a little bit, and they want to live somewhere around that 68 to 70. 78 range. They kind of want to be in there. And to me,
it is the worst brand of basketball ever. I'm so glad I'm not an A&M fan.
Very
really
Tennessee
for that reason. I just can't imagine watching that every night.
I know. It's awful. Very Tennessee-like. So you saw Tennessee, was able to do it big time. I wonder if they just try to slow the game way, way down and then just kind of see if they can get Auburn off rhythm, especially with having a new point guard, maybe making them want to speed up a little bit on the offensive side. I don't know. It's going to be an interesting matchup. And I'm curious to see if the first part of what we talked about really rings true, if this team is really as locked in as we think they are, and I think they are.
I mean, we'll know pretty quick, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Going back to teams like Tennessee slowing it down, like, they slowed it down for at least 5 seconds on Saturday at one point.
I'll tell you what I really like about Tennessee. They use their timeouts so effectively. Like, their head coach is locked in. Rick Barnes will never cost Tennessee a game, period. Like, you can never put it on Rick Barnes if they lose a game.
And real timely shooting from deep for Tennessee as well, especially this weekend.
Yeah. They have range. I mean, they can step out from.
They had range at least once, one time on Saturday for sure.
Yeah, they can step out beyond the arc, maybe like a couple steps beyond the logo if they need to. In a pinch, you put them in a pinch.
In a last second situation.
Yeah. Last second, they're deadly. They're deadly at the last second. You gotta always guard until the clock's hit zero because they could beat you. I've seen.
They could. They didn't beat Auburn this year, but they have beaten really good teams. There's no question. No question about it. All right, who wins? What do we expect to happen tonight? We jump into that in just a moment, right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Can you imagine wagering anywhere other than our friends at FanDuel Sportsbook?
Can't do it. Won't do it.
Nope, won't do it. They've got Auburn, the over-under at 7.5 total wins for football. I think I know the answer to this, but where are you going? You going over or under for that?
7.5?
Yes.
Man, that's up there. Give me the over.
Let's go. Let's bug, baby. Let's go. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com. You're shot at $150 in bonus bets. FanDuel is the official sports betting partner of the NBA and, of course, the Locked On Podcast Network. Final few minutes of this edition of Locked On Auburn. You have me doubting the over-under line.
What is it right now?
It's 7.5. Yeah, it's 7.5. Okay.
I thought you were talking about the basketball game.
No, you had me. As we record this Monday afternoon, there is no line.
I'm not used to Auburn being over like 5.5. It feels
Goodness gracious. Gosh. Okay.
It's good.
Anyway, yeah, I think Auburn takes it to A&M. Like, I think this is a double-digit win. And I want to stress something here because, I think Texas A&M is a good basketball team. I said a few weeks ago, I don't know how much I said it on this show. I may have said it when we went live on the Barn or Village Vice or radio shows, but it seemed like just 2 weeks ago, A&M was a top 10 team. And there was all this talk about Auburn and Alabama and Florida and Tennessee. And then they would skip over A&M and talk about Kentucky and dark horses like Ole Miss and Mississippi State. And I was pretty vocal about hey, let's don't forget about Texas A&M here. They'll sneak up on you. And clearly I was wrong. Clearly they have not snuck up on any of these last 4 teams that they've played, but they can. This is a team that can beat you, especially in College Station. So I just want to make sure, I'm not acting like A&M is this awful team. I think they're good. This is more about Auburn not being finished with their business than it is about Texas A&M, dropping 4 straight and needing a quad 1 win right now.
Yeah, but I mean, they're 4 straight. We're at Mississippi State, Tennessee at home, Vanderbilt at home. That's kind of a tough loss, and then at Florida. So like there was a time a couple of weeks ago. I mean, they were in the top 16, I believe, in the bracket, the first bracket release. Like they were up there. There was a time where we were rooting for them to lose. You know what I mean? Because we were concerned they could be one of the teams, down. We could be playing them to clinch, and it means something for both teams. So I'm not going to just act like they're a bunch of scrubs. Like they're a really good basketball team, and especially you're going there, they're going to be motivated. This is tournament stuff. This is tournament life that they're playing for. So they need a big win here as they started to reel to put before the committee to say, hey, look, we still belong. I think they're in, but I mean, they still have some work to do.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly strengthens your resume. Can they get back to that 3 seed line if they beat Auburn? Like maybe it certainly helps their case. When you look at a team like A&M that we both agree is a solid basketball team, and they've lost 4 straight, does that make you worried at all or nervous? It's like, oh my goodness, like surely they're not going to lose 5 straight. But then you look at the teams and it's like, well, those are 5 solid teams minus the Vandy situation. I think Vandy's okay. I think they're decent. I think A&M's better. But it's like, can A&M really lose 5 games? And then like they'll play LSU to wrap up the season, I believe. So like they'll probably win that one. But they just seem so much better than that.
I know. I'm with you. This conference, man. I know we keep talking about it, but gosh, it's crazy. It's legitimately anybody can beat anybody except for Auburn. Nobody can beat Auburn.
Yeah, except for Florida, I guess.
Except for Florida. Anybody can beat anybody else except for Auburn. Mm-hmm. But even Florida. I mean, Florida can lose games. That's what's crazy. Yeah. It's just nuts. And we've weathered the storm, and you're going to try to go weather the storm.
And that's why,
again.
like in real time, we were coming on here, and Auburn fans were upset that they beat Vandy by 12 on the road. And it's like, well, hold on. Everybody else is dropping games but Auburn. Like the fact that we're surviving and having these terrible games and still winning against SEC teams on the road just shows how good this team is.
I got a relative who's a big Alabama fan, never says anything good about Auburn. Okay. So, and dislikes Bruce Pearl quite a bit.
Do you like this relative? Would you say that you like the relative?
Oh, I love him.
Okay.
We're great outside of, we just can't talk about.
Do you think you love him more if he wasn't a Bammer?
For sure. Okay. Totally.
Got it.
He's talking to my dad, and they were talking about spreads, like the game. Like he's a big gambler. He's trying to pick the games, and they're talking about, I guess it was
the FanDuel.
Yeah, he used FanDuel every time.
Great.
There's the Ole Miss game. They're talking about the game, and he's like, man, what should we bet? What should I bet? Do you think Auburn will cover? And it's just like my dad's just like, I don't know. They're good enough that they just seem like they play around, and then they win by 6 to 10 points every single game. It's not like they're just blowing people out, but they hang around, and then you look up at the scoreboard and they're up. They win by 8 points. It's like, so I don't know what to bet. They're going to win, but I just don't know exactly what the spread will be. And he said, that's usually the sign of a good team. They're going to win games. And he said something, very positive about Auburn. That's usually a sign of a good team, that no matter what, when they're playing bad, when they're playing not up to their standards, you look up at the scoreboard and they're still winning by 6, 8, 10 points. And that's like the definition of that little stretch where we're getting a little bit concerned, and then you blow out Kentucky and you feel better again.
Yeah. I mean, maybe blowing out Ole Miss too. I mean, that really kind of seemed like the turn. We'll see. I mean, I don't think it slows down. I have a hard time seeing us lose tonight. I have a hard time seeing us lose at home on Saturday.
It would be one thing if there wasn't like a body of work. I'm always about 3-point shooting. If we can shoot 3-pointers, we're going to beat a lot of teams. Yeah. And so like, if there was like a body of work of where like we weren't shooting well, and then we had like a 3 or 4 game stretch, we shot crazy, and then we're just like ebbing and flowing, but like, it's pretty consistent. Like we're going to shoot 35+% from 3, and we can have some 40% nights. And that's just kind of who we are, that somebody's going to go off. Right. And it just happens. It happens every single time we play. And I can't wait to see who it's going to be.
Yeah, tonight. I guess the argument against that, and I agree with you, but just devil's advocate here, you do have one less guy, assuming Denver doesn't play. You have one less guy that could go off
Yep.
But you still have Chaney who could pop. You've got Johni that could go like whose ceiling is limitless. You've got Miles who he just made another 3
He's made
against
another
Kentucky.
one.
Then obviously Tahad. Hey, maybe we see more minutes from Ja'Kai down the stretch with it locked up. We'll see.
He's about to fire it up too. If
he plays 5 minutes, you're getting at least 5 shots, baby.
Shots.
And I bet 3 of them go in.
You better be ready for it. He's getting his numbers in for sure.
Hey, if he makes them, who cares? Who cares? So, I think Auburn wins like 70-ish to 60-ish. I'll go 72 to 60 is my pick.
That's a pretty good one. 75, 60, something like that, I think is probably what you'll see.
Got it. How can people check out everything you've got going on?
Absolutely. Go to thebarnauburn.com, take $25 off your annual membership, jump in the game threads, jump in the recruiting threads, all kind of stuff. We have team updates for every single sport, and baseball is the baseball coverage I'm probably the most proud of, and I have nothing to do with it. It's incredible.
Yeah.
I can't wait to hear.
Lindsay is him.
I can't wait to hear baseball. Lindsay and Sonny and Brad talk about this weekend. Auburn blanking everyone. Just no losses in Arlington. Can't wait to hear them recap.
That should drop later today. So be on the lookout for that. Yeah, head over to thebarnauburn.com. Subscribe today. Please like the video. Please subscribe, and we'll see you next time. This has been Locked On Auburn.